9 to noon.
Here comes my man Joe Smith, covers hockey in the Minnesota Wild for The Athletic and theathletic.com. Via Twitter, find him at Joe Smith NHL. Joe, as I texted you late Saturday after calling some races and reading your story, wonderful in-depth piece Joe wrote involving the Professional Women's Hockey League and Minnesota beating Boston for the inaugural crown. And Joe joins us now. First, thanks for helping. And From nearly not making the postseason to being selected by Toronto, absolutely as a team they felt they would beat to win it, to winning the title, then losing the same day after they thought they won the title, to finally hoisting the Walter Cup. For those who didn't follow closely, and then that would be me. I followed it like in ancillary fashion. This is such a wonderful story you put together, Joe, and it's a story of the state, not only wonderful for the state of hockey, but state of hockey pride and resiliency that led to a championship. What did you enjoy about writing the story? And good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. What I enjoyed the most is kind of all the emotions involved in sports. That's what fans love about sports and how it makes you feel, the emotions, the ups and downs. And as a fan, you ride the roller coaster. And these players, lived it. And it's such an improbable story, and it's such a great one for the first year of this Professional Women's Hockey League. They probably shouldn't have made the playoffs. They needed Ottawa loss the last day to make the playoffs, then going down 0-2 in the first round in a best of 5 series. They had lost 7 straight games at that point to win 3 in a row and then go to Game 5 against Boston. I think if you were watching PA2 and they lost Game 4 in double overtime, chance to win the Cup at home ice at the XL Energy Center, that look on Taylor Heisey's face they showed on Bally's and stuff, had totally Minnesota sports written all over it, right? Like this is another heartbreak that's going to happen to this sports town. But for them to come back and find a way and to be celebrating all through the night on Wednesday in Lowell and to bring a championship to Minnesota, such a great story of perseverance and resilience of this group that will definitely set a standard for the teams to come for this Minnesota team. And
state of hockey, and those who follow it closely, like a dear friend of mine, Johnny the Mouse Mickelson, captain of the 83 Wayzata Club hockey team, he follows all levels of hockey. So, he's completely into all vibes that we're discussing here. But I think him and that group are in the minority when it comes to getting below the surface. Like you just said it, man. This Minnesota PWHL team, they lost 5 in a row into the playoffs, almost missed it. Then the top seed Toronto got to pick which team they want to play. They pick Minnesota. Minnesota's all of a sudden down 0-2. They got to win 3 in a row, and they do. So how do they lose 5 in a row at the end of the year?
Well, a lot of things weren't going right for them. Like they don't feel like they were playing poorly. They just little things kind of kept up and bit them. And I think they felt they just needed a spark or a turnaround, and they got it in Game 2. Even though they lost 2-0 to Toronto, Maddie Rooney came in and played extremely well, 28 saves, and it gave them a belief like, hey, we can do this. We can beat this team. And that really kind of trickled forward to Game 3 when they won and won another one in overtime. They won 3 straight. Taylor Heisey stepped up. But all it takes when you have a little losing streak, when you feel you have a good team, is a little bit of a spark or a kind of confidence, belief. And they felt in Game 2 that was what kind of turned it for them. And I guess Heisey put it too. We were playing with house money. They felt like they had nothing to lose, and all the pressure was on Toronto, the top seed who picked them, to finish them off. And once you lose one game, lose another game, go to Game 5, then it's all crazy.
Kendall Coyne Schofield is 32 years of age and was the first to hoist the Walter Cup. She's also a 3-time Olympic champion. How elite of a moment was it for that young lady?
Well, you think about her a year. She gave birth about 8-9 months ago, and she earlier this year, her son was there on the ice, and her husband too. But this league doesn't happen without Kendall. A lot of people, the Walter Group and Billie Jean King was instrumental, but having a person like Kendall to help spearhead it along and and be one of the pioneers of this league and this sport, really help drive it. And to have her part of the Minnesota group played a huge role in what they did. So, but to have her hoisted, I think a lot of the players on this team were really emotional and like felt like she deserved this moment. She's won a lot in her career, and this was just another one to it. But like I wrote in the story, late that night at that Lowell bar, she got on top of the bar to give a speech because she couldn't get anyone's attention in that loud place. And she was thanking everybody else, and all the players were like, no. Thank you for making this happen.
Now, the coach, his name is Ken Klee. And this is, again, if you followed it and if you followed it from afar and you're a hockey fan and you were one of the 13,000 at XL Energy Center for what was Game 4, where Minnesota felt it won, but then there was a championship-winning goal overturned, and then shortly after that, Boston wins. Now you got to go back to Boston to close it, and they did it quite convincingly. The coach is Ken Klee. But before that, there was somebody named Charlie Burgraff, all right? Now, Charlie Burgraff was supposed to be coach of this team. My man stepped down a week in front of the team's first game. So there's another amazing facet of this thing where I'm like, are you kidding me? They lost their coach a week in front of the season. What went into all that?
Yeah, I know Natalie Darwitz had talked about a little bit, that it was kind of up to, Charlie to make that decision, and they kind of agreed that it was best for him to move on. And then at that point, you have no choice but to kind of move on quickly. And they called Ken Klee, who obviously had success at the national team level, coached a lot of the players like Kendall. And he was, I think, ready to go for a Costa Rica vacation with his family. He was out in Colorado, and they called him. And within a moment, he was kind of talked to his wife, got in his truck, and drove, to Minnesota. I mean, this was not the week before camp. This was the week before the season started.
Right.
And so he had to get everything started and going. So that was a pretty incredible turnaround. And, he was the right mix for this group. He played, both goalies when a lot of teams didn't play both goalies regularly. He played 4 lines. Everybody had a role on this team, which made it, I think, that championship caliber team. Everybody had a piece of it. Liz Shepard scored her first goal of the season in the title game. Everybody had a little moment in this particular run. So he was the right person for it, and we'll see if he's indeed back next year.
This is Joe Smith, covers hockey and the Minnesota Wild for The Athletic and theathletic.com. At Joe Smith NHL via the X machine. At Joe Smith NHL. We're talking about PWHL. Yeah, way. And some of the nuance that went into Minnesota winning the first crown. And that would include there are a dozen Minnesotans on the team. And the general manager you just mentioned, Natalie Darwitz, that's Minnesota hockey immortality, Natalie's immortality. Who were some of the standout Minnesotans during this title run?
Well, you had, Taylor Heisey, the number 1 overall, pick. Obviously Minnesotan, another Gopher. Ray Stumwinkle, one of her best friends, probably going to be a candidate for Rookie of the Year. Lee Steckline, top defenseman on the back end. Kelly Panic, another alternate captain who gave one of the big speeches after that crushing Game 4 loss against the Boston at the X, said, hey, F this, we're going to Boston. We have a job to do. We still have a game left to play, and let's finish it off. And they took it from there. But, yeah, there's 12 Minnesotans on this team, from Rooney, including the one goaltender who helped in that Toronto series. So, too many to mention, but they took a lot of pride in having a lot of players from Minnesota on this team, from the Midwest on this team. It felt they kind of bought into the community, and people kind of rallied around that. And if you were at the X for any of those games, you saw a lot of young girls, female hockey players who really kind of saw some idols there on the ice.
What were the crowds like for the games?
Well, I had 13,000 on Sunday, the Game 4, right? And that was the Wolves were playing that day too, on the road, of course. But I think Friday night, I think they had 9,000 or 10,000 at the home game. That's when the Wolves were at home and the Twins were at home. So it kind of showed kind of the popularity of the women's game. And I think the one in Lowell was like around 7,000 the capacity at that smaller rink. But the crowds were great this year, and they hope to grow it again next year with an even better product. But the draft will be in Minnesota as well next week. The draft in the PWHL awards. So kind of a fitting end to the season for the title run for Minnesota.
And you've followed all facets of hockey for quite some time. So when I ask you if you were to ride your gut vibe, your discernment with sustainability for this league, how sustainable or how growable do you believe it is?
Well, I think they had the right ownership group, stability financially. That's a big part of it, right? It's one thing to have a belief in an idea. I think the women's game can continue to grow, but if you have the financial backing, is a big part of it. And they were really selective in their market, so they have to be careful with expansion and what they can do. But if you're saying from 1 to 5, like 5 being confidence level, might have to be above a 3, 3.5 in that respect. Only thing you're warning about, because this hasn't really been done before in this kind of particular situation with the collective bargaining agreement and all these different things put together, which is great for the women's game. But they definitely showed in the first year kind of above and beyond what people thought attendance perspective, and wait till they get a team name and logos and all that stuff they can build and brand around starting next season.
Viewing or reading it and following it from afar, Joe, it seems like a wonderfully appreciative group of ladies. What do you see it that way?
I do, and like Natalie had said, I think they were supposed to have a certain amount of community events or things that each player had to do from their contract, but they all doubled and tripled it what they wanted to do, and you could tell even after some of the games. I always said the open, how much time did they spend with the young girls or the ones that were there to watch them afterwards, signing autographs and everything like that. They know that this is a unique moment in time for women's hockey, and they knew that even players, even like Natalie, didn't have a chance to play pro hockey at this level, so they really appreciate the people who came before them and enabled them to have this moment, and definitely a magical moment it was there in Lowell for Minnesota players.
Let's finish with a couple of non-PWHL talkers or questions or takes. And by the way, congratulations to everybody involved with that Minnesota team for overcoming that legitimate distraction-related adversity. Gloves flung into the air. You think you're hoisting a trophy, a cup, and winning a championship, and it's taken from you. And then you got to dust off, go on the road, and then you end up beating somebody pretty soundly. I think it's a fantastic story. The nuance that goes into this whole thing, including the coach leaving a week in front of the season or being fired a week in front of the season. I had no idea how deep this thing went, man. So wonderful, wonderful work with that story, Joe. Now, the Wild have fired Darby Hendrickson with a year left on his deal. Did that surprise you at all?
Well, it surprised you in the sense that he's been here so long, right? I think the fact that he's kind of survived every coaching change, or played for every coach pretty much, or been around every coach and played for Jock in this time here. So it reflects the idea of, A, what a good coach he is, B, how respected he is as a man there. And I know guys in the room liked him a lot. But it wasn't a surprise in the sense that you kind of got a little sense that, it's been a long time and they have a new head coach in John Hines, and he kind of inherited a staff after Evanson and Woods were fired. They brought Dwyer up, and it kind of made sense if you were going to make a change to have maybe Hines and Guerin get together and bring maybe some new blood in there. Talk about royalty in Minnesota. Darby Henderson is absolutely that, a class act, and I'm sure he'll find another job in short order. But I think it was just more so not something that he did that was wrong or bad, but more so the fact that it was just time for a change there and a way for maybe John Hines to have somebody bring on his staff that fits with him or has some experience with him in his career, because this is his coaching tenure we're talking about here going forward. So, but Darby is a great man. Will be definitely missed, and I'm sure he won't be too far away from here for a while. Does a lot of great things in the community too.
Well, Joe, think about all you've seen or all you followed in the world of hockey, and for a decade and a half to sustain and continue as an on-bench assistant coach through a handful of head coaches. I mean, that's so antithetical to the way pro sports works. So I'm glad you laid it out the way you did at the end. I mean, I can't imagine it's anything egregious that Darby did. And with all due respect to all involved, it just sounds like, you know what? It's been a nice run. We're going to pay you off for a year. We just want our guys around. Now, I mean, that happens a lot, and hopefully the right move's being made here. But simply because somebody wants their, quote, own people, end quote, doesn't mean that there's not going to be a void to be filled by somebody who has to be amazing at their job to last through all those coaches and for a decade and a half, right?
It's incredible and unheard of. How many other guys have you seen that's been able to kind of go through multiple coaching staffs from different personalities, different kind of eras of the league? And like I said, it speaks to him, his coaching ability, his ability to connect with players. It looks like he could still play right now. If you see him in practices, he looks like he could still play. Just a tremendously positive and smart coach, and he'll find another job. I'm confident in that. But like you said, sometimes it's just time when a guy has been around for such a long time through different eras, and to maybe find another person on the outside to come in with some new ideas and work with a coach like John, who they have more experience with.
All right, lastly, Oilers and Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup final. What do you think about all that?
Well, I'm happy that the league, gets to see the best player, one of the best of all time, get a chance to play for a Stanley Cup, right? And Connor McDavid, it's just a heck of a story if you're covering it. And I know my buddy Mike Russo will be covering that Cup final there. I will be the first to admit that I picked Dallas to win that series. I think a lot of us did. But it just shows when you have two of the best players in the world and such difference makers that they are. The goal last night, David was otherworldly. So it'll be a great series. The Florida is a team that's been there before and really determined and hard focused on learning from last year's loss in the Cup final. So it'll be a tough out. But anytime you have the best player in the world in your team, the best power play in the league, you have to give yourself a chance. So it'll be a great series, I think. Bad travel for everybody else, but it'll be a great series.
My man, thanks for the Covenant catch-up. Enjoy the off-season, and hopefully we talk soon, okay?
Sounds good, Paul. Thanks so much.
See you, bud. Joe Smith, athletic.com, writes about hockey and covers the Minnesota Wild. At Joe Smith NHL. This is 9 to noon.
The Fan.
Vikes Bites.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. Vikes Bites is always presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. Go to the website. You can shop online. Your box of meat shows up at your doorstep. That's pretty awesome. Or you can find them at a local co-op, local Coburn's locations. They also support Dinkytown Athletics, so elite meat supporting local athletes. I dig that. That's Thousand Hills LifetimeGrazed.com. Kind of a boring news day for Vikings fans.
Good morning, Uncle Paul. It's your favorite nephew, Marco the Viking, on X at Marco the Viking. And I just got to say, what a great way to start the week, signing our offensive leader to the next 4 years. And just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Skull, skull, skull.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, out. I mean, at some point it was going to happen, but I dig that. Another talk back.
Justin Jefferson, the GOAT, has got exactly what he deserves. We are younger, faster, stronger, better, and cheaper than we've been in the last few years. And I only see the direction going up for this team. Let's get it. Love you, PA. Thanks.
Love you. What's the cheaper part, Maine?
Well, I think over the course of whether it was the free agency, a measured spending spree by Kwesi, the fact that cap's going to open up into, we're talking, 9 figures next year potentially? Even considering this Justin Jefferson deal. So I would imagine that would be his direction in terms of it getting cheaper.
Got it.
Just the flexibility, right? I mean, we joke every year, hey, we're out at TCO, it's Vikings training camp, currently looking for nickels and dimes and couch cushions to help these guys find help in free agency and such. And it looks like, at least money-wise, that they're going to be a little more flexible moving forward. Now, speaking of money.
Well, since you brought it up that way, I'm going to continue to say it because I think it's right. But B, I don't know enough about it, but I'm just going to go ahead and ride the instinct.
Okay.
That free agency, how am I going to put this? Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah is not disrespecting the draft or draft picks. All right. Now, I brought this up with Ben Gessling, I think a few weeks ago. But just lay it out pragmatically. All right. Baseline up. If your background is that of stock trading, if you are the most antithetical general managerial hire in the history of the NFL, antithetical to the way things had been done, the tape grinders, and all stuff that still takes place. There's no doubt with personnel people and constituents, you have to watch film and establish opinions on rookies and free agents. Amen to that?
Yeah.
All right. So if you come from a stock trading background, it's blatantly obvious that you cannot prognosticate how an asset at this level will transfer to an asset at the higher level. I mean, you can, but you can't be as sure as looking at Jonathan Grenard or Andrew Van Ginkel or Blake Cashman or Shaq Griffin or whomever they've looked at in free agency.
Grugier Hill.
Kamu Grugier Hill. You look at them because they've been trading and performing in the same market. So therefore, I think it's interesting how he handled the first round of the draft this year compared to his very first draft, where I'm going to be, with all due respect, I had the feel of this. I'm going to be the smartest guy in the room.
Yep.
And I'm going to get value on top of value on top of value for what we are giving compared to what we are taking. But then you need to select, and you're selecting those who have not competed at this level. So therefore, it's just abundantly clear to me. I'm not saying that draft picks don't matter. I'm saying amassing draft picks in certain parts of the draft matter the least to this regime compared to anybody that I've ever come across in the NFL. Because it makes sense. If that's your background, that of stock trading, well, doesn't it behoove you to find bullish stocks, to find a bullish market?
Sure.
With those who have competed against people against whom they'll compete this year. So it's easier to analyze the past performances off what you've seen against this level compared to, it's not dart throw, it's not, but it certainly is more unpredictable, no matter who you are or where you're taken, that you will tear up the next level. So I think everything the way you laid it out with off that talk back about cheapest is, look at the way free agency was handled, look at the way the draft was handled with the picks, lack thereof, or what was moved. And I would expect that moving forward more so than throwing darts in the draft and hoping to hit on the next Burke in round 6 or Brady in round 6, you know?
Well, yeah, and the round 6, the day 3 selections in general, I think that's where the dartboard is truly the smallest, right? The bullseye is as small as it potentially could get.
Hitting that bullseye on day 2 ain't easy.
No, it's not. So, but I would say, I would go back to your referencing of Kwesi's drafting. I would say that he's learned from a high-end example that the more guys we're getting on day 1, the better. So some people that are frustrated, some day 2 picks next year as part of ultimately the move up that led to Dallas Turner, for instance. Well, if you think about it, Dallas Turner, if we'd stayed at 42 and tried to move up and get Dallas Turner, next year's 1 is gone. Instead, because of the move to 23, we don't have a couple of extra day 2 picks next year, but we didn't have to give up next year's 1 to get up to 17 and get Dallas Turner. So the flexibility of that move up actually helped the Vikings in this particular case. Now Dallas has to go ahead and be maybe a defensive rookie of the year candidate, and no one's going to remember what Kwesi gave up for Dallas. But I think at some point what will be interesting now is the next shift, the financial flexibility that he's created over the next few years.
Great point.
He does have to actually now go back the other way, and you are going to have to get back to the draft, get back to the lifeblood, get back to adding talent on a year-by-year basis from the draft because of the cost. So the game that Kwesi's playing simply requires balance, and right now, free agency, we're going to be able to add those known commodities that you're talking about. Those guys who he has 4 years, at least in some cases, to see the deviation and the elevation of their quality of play.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like an IPO with a draft pick. Like you're investing in something that could skyrocket, could level out, could be a disaster.
Right.
He has these known commodities, but he's going to have to jump back, I think, to the draft and start building again that way.
We'll see. I don't think picks matter as much to him as they do some others. And in getting the team younger and also finding the money for free agency, the best stock brokers, stock people, investment firms, they find something at $5 and wait for it to turn into $50. So you could have all that money that you're going to have for free agency with the Jefferson signing, which could be $75 million. But that doesn't mean two players are going to get it. So maybe it'll be $100 a share stock that moves up to $140 and you win a Super Bowl. But Grenard would be in the middle. Van Ginkel, Cashman, Grugier, Hill, Tillery, Dillery, Doc, and everybody involved. That's buying low with the expectation of winning high. And that's what I think it's going to be like with him moving forward. Identifying commodities, assets, where the past performances you have are against the very best. They're not against Middle Tennessee State. They're not against Florida State. I mean, great college programs all over the place, ain't no doubt. But it's still different than these commodities at the highest level, performing at the highest level.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm spitballing, riding a gut feeling. I started about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago with Gessling. I just looked at like the way things were handled this offseason, the way things are going with the cash. Now the JJ re-signed, Darrisaw will be re-signed, and Kwesi is the most different general manager hire potentially in the history of the NFL. So why do it on amassing all the, just doing it the way it's been done?
Right.
He ain't going to do it that way. He's going to look at the commodities market that already has played 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. He's going to find the best fits for the market they run here, and hopefully a $5 stock turns into a $50 within 2 years. That's how I think he looks at it.
Well, based on my E-Trade account, I must admit I've exhausted my stock market / investing related references.
Right.
But
have I.
But with the Kwesi bit, he has. If you're looking at the charts, just how different he's lost all of these trades, right? Have you noticed that where they analytically it's how much you got, how much you actually gave up, and all of that?
Right.
I think that proves in itself he's willing, if he has a big opinion on the Dallas Turner, if he has a big opinion on JJ McCarthy or whoever, he'll give you all the picks.
Yeah.
But when he identifies that guy, he's going to take him. So
that was a cool talk back.
Absolutely. Vikes Bites. Again, that and all that talkback was related to Justin Jefferson, 4-year extension, which keeps him in purple under contract through the 2028. 4 years, $140 total million. 110 of it, $110 million, is guaranteed. He's now the highest paid non-QB in the NFL. $89 million of that fully guaranteed at signing, and then I believe the other 21 and change becomes vested. At some point in the next year or two. So congrats to JJ. And it was just in time, too, right? Because on a Monday, you're going to be out at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center the next 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, for mandatory minicamp, which takes place this week. And I don't know why this is before. There's actually a voluntary OTA bit next week. But I guess the mandatory is this week. It's kind of weird it's kind of weird how that works. I don't understand why.
I thought the whole thing was done after Thursday.
No, they have another voluntary bit next week. But Justin Jefferson should be, as he was last year, a mandatory camp, expecting him to be at the facility, all paid, bright-eyed, smile ear to ear, and all of that. And Shaq Griffin, I got some audio for you on Shaq Griffin. What a transition from $140 million to Justin Jefferson to new Vikings cornerback Shaq Griffin. Here he is on the Vikes.
I feel like it's a perfect situation, great opportunity to be here. I feel like I fit right in. Some really great players, it's a lot of comedians, very funny people. But I feel like they make my job here to come in and actually work it and kind of enjoy the day being here. So I've been enjoying it ever since I got here.
Okay, well,
he's on a vacation.
Yeah, he's having a blast.
Turks and Caicos up in here with a bunch of funny people.
And he thinks it's a great match for him.
I feel like they accepted me, especially for my game. I feel like I'm a very aggressive player, so I feel like the scheme that they're trying to inhabit going in this year, I feel like fits perfect, in the way I play. They had to see that first before I even signed here, which was great. So, again, the type of trust and
I like how he
my
talks.
ability, it's been a good thing. So, I think that's the perfect fit.
And finally, Shaq Griffin, new Vikings corner on just OTAs in this process.
They haven't been too bad. I feel like the hardest part for me was probably last year, bouncing off the back surgery, being out for 5-6 months and kind of jumping right into it. This year I got a full off season, so
that happened.
It's been phenomenal. I feel like I had no issues with the back since then. Nothing has been stressful. I get a chance to really work my craft and come in really in shape before the season starts. Last year was just after the back surgery and everything, I just had to come in and play. They ain't give me no time for nothing. So this year I get a full off season, so it feels a lot different. So I'm just enjoying the process now.
So Shaq Griffin, and as I said, I think he's going to be one of the new bright personalities on this team.
Yep.
Talkative, and you want to talk about you're buying low, already low at a guy later stages of his career. I think he's 28 or 29, but you're also buying low in a guy that's had to go the last couple of years without the ability to get out there and train and practice because of various injuries, including a back surgery.
Yeah.
But he's entering into an opportunity-rich situation at the cornerback spot with the Minnesota Vikings. Loving Dallas Turner, and many things to be said in the weeks beyond on that kid and what the pass rush looks like. But somebody's got to cover. And that was a problem area at times for the Vikings last year. The secondary, Shaq Griffin, another name to watch as mandatory camp gets underway.
And Van Ginkel, he's also returning for something. Might be an ACL, a toe.
I thought it was like a foot thing. I can look it up.
Something like that. But, well, now it's starting to make more sense when it comes to buying low and not necessarily selling high, but just having the stock go from a 5 to a 50 and you sit back and reap the benefits and enjoy. And part of that is, with Griffin in the back and Van Ginkel in the foot or the toe or whatever it is, it's waiting for the company to go broke.
I always love that one.
And then just buying into it, knowing it's going to be a good company again one day.
Vikes Bites, presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Graze Grass-Fed Beef. Christian Darasaw talking last week about what he's seen thus far through OTAs, and it included Jonathan Grenard and Dallas Turner.
I think Dallas is going to be special. In Grenard, man, just watching him throughout the year. Last year, he had an outstanding year, and then 1-5, getting him kind of excited just to see that draft pick go across the board. It's definitely going to help us. He's going to be a solid player for sure, but yeah, we got two good ones.
And more on Dallas Turner.
Definitely his explosiveness. He has that burst. He's quick. He had a spin move. Maybe last week it was quicker than Daniels. I was like, damn, this guy's gonna be special.
Wow,
how about that?
Quicker than Daniels, he said.
So whether it's Alec Lewis, he joined Saucy and I on Saturday for the final hour, and Crimson Tide. He's from Alabama, and he's pumped to see what Dallas Turner can do at the next level. But everything that I've heard come out of camp around Dallas Turner is like blue chip, absolute bona fide stud. Maybe ready day one to start making plays and changing games. A lot of excitement around Dallas Turner. PA.
I went to organized team activities twice last week, and the focus is like the cat from Marshall, the linebacker that I saw there. I brought him Owen Porter.
Owen Porter, maybe.
Owen Porter, thank you. Yeah. So when I go there, it's. Ain't nobody lying to anybody. When you're watching the 7-on-7, or you're watching Darnold throw, or you're watching McCarthy throw, it's not a wow, okay, can't wait to get back on the radio. That's a 10 of 10 conclusion. However, what I shared off rookie camp last year about Ivan Pace Jr. was I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, wow, I mean, he's never out there. He looked a little paunchy. He looked slow.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, there are a lot of super hype stories here about this guy, and I just don't understand it. Well, it's not for me to say whether he arrived to rookie camp in shape, out of shape, ready to go. What's going on, guys? All right, 3-2. In shape, out of shape, or whatever. What he did when training camp rolled around, and then he first preseason game at Seattle, just smashed a right guard for the Seahawks and just knocked him backwards 3 feet or 3 yards. And, so therefore for him, it jumped up from there. So, like when I'm there and I look at Dallas Turner, he's unbelievable looking. I mean, but that shouldn't be surprising. His thighs are that of Earl Campbell, the Earl Campbell variety. I think that reference is too old for you and for others. It's of the tree trunk variety.
He's a thoroughbred.
Yep, Earl Campbell, one of the great running backs in the history of the NFL. So they're super big tree trunk-esque. But you outside of that, okay, I mean, I've seen the spin move. I've seen him run around people. He's fast. I just can't wait to see him play in games. McCarthy, his nickname, I want to say Nolan Ryan. That might be too old for some people. Who's a good flamethrower now? Okay, I'm asking the wrong person. Whomever throws 100 miles per hour in Major League Baseball now, that's J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are a million examples that are eluding me at this moment. But that's McCarthy. When you watch him throw passes, you're like, damn, that arm is unbelievably strong. But then you watch him, try to connect on something short. And I'd say to somebody, you think he threw the ball a little too hard there? And the answer may be yes. Okay, well, those are things on which he needs to work. Then you watch him connect with Sherfield on some type of deep play front left of the end zone, and it's a dime. It's just like beautiful. So, yes, deep and intermediate passes from McCarthy. Touch passes still seem to need a little work, I would say. But you are able to pull that from like organized team activities.
Because they take the pads off these guys. Like Ivan Pace benefited greatly from what? Being able to hit and show some of those things. Yeah. And similarly now, Darisaw clamoring and enamored with this spin move bit. Yeah. That's something you can probably take pads or no pads. But in the end, until he's truly given the full force, that initial punch maneuver, or until these guys are truly making contact, there is you're really grasping at straws in some ways, at least on the front end, to make a big opinion about it.
If you're looking for details, then I think they're either people are overly emphasizing them.
Yeah.
They're not there. Okay. I mean, there are details that are there, but there ain't a detail that I saw in either organized team activity last week that is going to lead me to say they're going to win this many games or change any type of prediction. But the overarching point is now with Jefferson signed through 2028. Okay, so you got that done. But the overarcher is there are 2 punters. There are 2 kickers. I mean, you laugh, but those are competitions for jobs.
Absolutely, they are.
So, I mean, think about it. I mean, those are competitions for somebody's job. So, therefore, what it brings out of them are detail-oriented things that fascinate me. Because when you have competition for your job, it's going to bring the best or the worst out in somebody. And following that and seeing how they succeed or how they try too hard and fail, those details are fascinating. They're Kyrie Jackson. When I watch him play, he's fascinating. He's amazing to watch. And his arms go from Maui to Maine, and he's so tall. And yes, the Shaq Griffin comparison, somebody put on him initially. Yeah, I can see it for sure. But then why that round? Why so many schools? Things like that.
Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating. But I don't think a lot of that is necessarily fascinating, for those who want to get to their fantasy football team. They want to get to September. They want to get to the once a week and fan line and the analyzing and the praising and the ripping and stuff like that. This is not that time of the year. This is such a relaxing, peaceful, chill time of the year for those who are intimately involved in the covenant, like the coaches, the players and stuff like that, that I'm really excited to get to minicamp I'll be there all 3 days, but 9 to noon we'll be out there Tuesday and Wednesday. Just to get a feel for what the whole thing looks like with Jefferson and seeing some 11-on-11 with Grenard and an opportunity to see them compete at a relatively high level. So I think that'll be fun.
That's Vikes Bites, presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
9 to noon continues after this.
Welcome back. News to Nord is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. Whether it's live racing throughout the week, go to CanterburyPark.com for the live racing schedule, which days to go and hang out and wager on the ponies. Or all year round, you're feeling the felt, poker, blackjack, and table games. Just go to CanterburyPark.com. We'll start with the Minnesota Twins. Minnesota Twins, 2 of 3 from the Houston Astros over the weekend. Now, the Minnesota Twins, after losing 7 in a row just a couple of weeks ago, rattled off 4 straight, losing the final one to the Texas Rangers. Then they took 3 of 4 at home to the Royals, battling in the AL Central. Now 2 of 3 on the road at Houston. They were 4-2 against Houston last season before ultimately losing in the playoffs to the Stros. But next up, PA, they get a day to chill. They are in New York. They are in the Bronx. They are at the Yankees for 3 6:05 starts. It'll be Bailey Ober. It looks like Ober, Paddock, and Lopez against Gill, Rodon, and Stroman. So the Yankees, well, no big deal. They just put up, it was 14-1 over their 3-game series in terms of offense. The Yankees smacking the Twins all over the place at Target Field a few weeks ago. Now they are in New York. Looking forward to those games. But what's interesting, the team is third in the AL Central right now, 33-26.
Yeah.
They're 6 games out of the division. The Guardians just are not letting up, PA. And then the Royals, a couple of games in front of them. Twins able to do some intra-division damage to the Royals last week. But they need some of these teams to start losing. Third in the Central on a 90-win pace.
A topic for the Twins is Royce Lewis returns tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow or Wednesday. So to get him back fortifies an offense that's gotten better post that Yankee series. These Yankees are balling right now. I caught a couple innings of their game at San Francisco Saturday after I got done calling horse races. And Soto, Judge, Volpe, Rizzo to a certain extent, Stanton hit a Stantonian bomb, I believe it was Saturday. So they're hitting that Gill you're talking about. I think his name is Lucas Gill. I think he's the best in show they have. Nestor Cortez is good, but this Gill cat has come out of the gates on fire. So it's the Yankees. Can't wait to watch. That's right, I'm in the Comcast covenant, so I can't watch. Well, that sucks. Seriously, that's why I barely talk during Twins parts. And I follow it too, and I follow MLB more closely than I share because MLB is just not the most people-moving, popular topic in the history of 9 to Noon. But I don't bring it up a lot because it sucks that now. Okay, can I find a way to watch it? Yes. Am I being stubborn, not finding a route to watch it? No, because I have other things that matter more to me in my life. So I'm not being like, hey, lay down and, the local sports team should just be available, like they have been the first 57 and a half years of my life?
Correct.
Yeah, so if I'm being selfish, then let me speak for all of Selfish Nation. I'm so freaking sick of not being able to watch even part of a Twins game that just by turning on a TV and not having to get a FUBU or whatever it is, we shouldn't have to do that. So, you talk about a greed fest of some sort that's taking place right now. Either somebody's so broke they can't get out of it, or you got a bunch of people probably lying, and there's a greed facet of it that just has to be off the charts thick.
Yeah.
To now, how far into this are we? 2 months? Month and that, whatever?
Yeah, 2 full months.
Damn, man.
And the entire thing, and I guess
and FIDA, Fairness and Twins Act. I'm outside of the postseason. I'm never sitting down for first pitch inning 1 and watching every inning through the end of the ninth. And I don't think a lot of people do that. But it's just to have it available to, let's see. So you want us to feel like the Royce Lewis return is big? How can we feel it's big if a lot of us can't watch it?
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's out of sight, out of mind, man. And whose ever fault it is, shame on you.
Yeah, and when they first went through this and the spigot was shut off on Comcast, it's been about a month now, I think. The instant reaction we got as we were having this conversation is, well, just go get the free trial on Fubo. You can get it on DirecTV. Why do I have to do that? Why am I now the bad guy?
Right.
Because the baseball team has somehow bungled their ability to promote their product and present their product to the masses.
Ooh, that's sweet, man. So I can watch a twin Seattle Mariners game. You're telling me that I got to get a satellite on my roof that faces south, which is where the tallest trees I have on my property are. Oh, so now I got to cut down 3 of those trees for whatever the reason because of some faulty satellite signal.
Now you're over trying to get Cotton John to take care of his one last remaining cottonwood tree.
I'd rather go to the dark web and find routes to stealing signals than going through all of that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, why should we feel like we're the bad guy when somebody went broke? And you months into it, you can't get this thing together, man.
Yeah.
So if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it really fall? If Royce Lewis returns and they win 16 in a row and few see it, did it really happen? Out of sight, out of mind, man. I mean, the front office for the Minnesota Twins, specifically Dave St. Peter, this whole thing just must be working on their last nerve.
Yeah.
Even a little conversation like this, you know what I mean?
Think about that Wolves run, PA. Still missing that Wolves run.
That what?
How good the Wolves run was over the last month, where we are not talking.
And I can't wait for the NBA Finals. I mean, what an unbelievably cool matchup this is going to be Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday,
yep.
Damn.
What's your quick twitch on that, by the way? Celtics minus 220 in the series.
$22,000 to win $10,000, please.
You're on the C's? Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, Derek White and Porzingis. I mean, I'll get into it more maybe later, tomorrow or the next day. But what Karl Anthony Towns did not consistently provide, Jaylen Brown will. What our third option, offensively and defensively, did not consistently provide, Derek White will. What our fourth option did not consistently provide offensively or defensively, Kristaps Porzingis mostly, off an injury, mostly will provide.
Yep.
So Dallas can win because Kyrie and Luka right now, it's just otherworldly. But the Tatum plays in a way and can satisfy needs of his team in a way that Anthony Edwards is still figuring out.
Right.
So I think Dallas went right into the belly of the beast.
I know we won't have enough time today, and the JJ news really kind of just hijacked the idea, but I do want to, because you were out a couple days last week, I'd love, whether it's tomorrow, at some point, getting your thought, because ever since the season ended for the Wolves, it's been, you balance how annoyed you are with how the series ended, but you're also loving the run. You're loving the season that you just enjoyed. They were 66-1 in the preseason to win a title.
Wow.
They ended up in the Final Four. It's just so many positive things to talk about, but specifically I've heard conversations up and down.
Yeah.
Participated in some of it with Saucy on Saturday. The idea of trading Karl, that's already starting to percolate. So,
but nobody will take him for that money. So that's the end of the conversation for me.
You think it's just
for me
the amount of money he's going to make? Okay.
That's been the conversation point with him for years. So I've changed my opinion regarding some things, Karl Anthony Towns related, and I know we're happy for me, and everybody's been waiting for me to proclaim I changed my opinion. Hey, but the trading part of it for the way this deal gets bigger and everything,
right?
Nah. Jaden McDaniels is the one. We can chat about that down the road because a very dear friend of mine is in studio, and we're going to share a sad story, but a sad story that has uplift to it. When 9 to noon continues on KFAN.